Hey guys, what's up? It's Dean. Welcome to Manful Yoga. This video is going to cover tips and strategies to staying active while traveling for the holidays. So this video is directed to anybody who's going to be traveling and meeting family over the holidays. If you're getting together, if it's going to be your family, your dad, your mom, your brothers, your sisters, everyone together, I'm going to talk about some tips and strategies that you can use to make sure that you keep up with your workouts. And also some things that you probably haven't thought of. So I'm not just going to give you some really basic advice. I'm going to give you some specific bits of information and some advice as it applies to traveling over the holidays, as it applies to being with family, and being somewhere that you're not used to working out. I'm going to start off with 4 major mistakes you should avoid though. And I also want to say that these tips, these strategies, these are all things that I've developed over the years. These are things that I've tried and figured out for myself that work best. These are things that I've heard about from our community in Manful Yoga, and I hope that you find them useful. Before I give you those 4 major mistakes though, I want to invite you to subscribe to the Manful Yoga YouTube channel if you haven't already. That way you'll be sure to receive notifications, to know when new videos are released, and you'll be able to see them before anybody else. So click the subscribe button below and become a subscriber. All right, here we go. So those 4 major mistakes that I want you to avoid when traveling and trying to stay fit. Number 1, you want to make sure that you don't not plan, okay? So that's one way of saying make sure that you have a plan. You don't want to go into this without any sort of plan because it's going to make it hard to do your workouts. You can always modify your plan later on, but go in with this with some sort of plan. Tip number 2, or major mistake to avoid, number 2, is don't set your expectations too high. It's really easy to plan an awesome workout week, but then you get to the holiday vacation, you get with your family, and things come up. Maybe you end up sitting and gorging on fudge, or maybe you end up drinking the night before, or something happens. The point is, I don't want you to set super high expectations for your workout program and then give it all up when it doesn't go well for the first 2 days. So just go into it with managing your expectations. Number 3, don't bring too much equipment. Less is more. So I find that whenever I bring too much equipment, number 1, it's just a pain in the ass to travel with a lot of equipment. But also, when you have more equipment, you have more choices. Whenever you have more choices, that leads to less action. It's called decision paralysis. So you want to avoid that by bringing less equipment. And I'm actually going to tell you what equipment you should bring in this video, so stick around. And then the 4th major mistake I want you to avoid is don't just disappear. So you're always going to have that one person in your family who gets mad at you for taking off. So tell people if you're going to go work out. And I'm also going to give you some tips on how to do this in a way that makes them feel more included, doesn't hurt anybody's families, and doesn't hurt anybody's feelings, and allows you to get your time to exercise. All right, so those are the 4 major mistakes to avoid. Now I'm going to go through some other tips and strategies that you can use to make sure that you're motivated, to make sure that you're consistent. So the first major tip that I have, and this is something that I think is not as plain, so it's not a simple tip, but it is really helpful, is to make sure that you exercise the first day. And the reason for this has to do with exercise, or what has to do with habit science, habit formation science. Whenever you're in a new environment, you tend to, your habits are very malleable, right? They're very moldable. But as soon as you start to create actions in that new environment, then you're more likely to repeat those actions. So one way that you can make sure that you exercise every day is to start the habit on the first day you're there, right? So make sure that you exercise the first day that you're there, because that will make you wake up, and even if you're in, the next day, and even when you're in an unfamiliar situation, that unfamiliar environment, your brain will go toward, oh, I'm here, it's the morning, I'm supposed to work out. So my first tip for you is to make sure that you exercise on the first day. The second tip that I have for you is to use your environment. Figure out what it is in your environment that makes you motivated to work out and use that. Now, you might not know what that is going into it, but I'm gonna give you some examples. So for me, my parents live in a building that has a gym. And I normally don't have access, or a few years ago, I didn't normally have access to gym equipment. So when I went to my parents for Christmas, I would build the gym into my workout program while I was home because it made me excited. It was something motivational. It was something that was novel. It was something that made me want to work out. If you are traveling somewhere that has a beach, maybe you want to build swimming or working out on the beach into your workout program for the week. If you're going somewhere that has a nice view, maybe you want to do yoga in front of a window while looking out at a mountain or whatever it is. These are all really great places to go on vacation. But if you don't have those, then, maybe you can't use those. But the idea is we want to think about what is in this new environment that will make you motivated to work out. You might have to get a little bit creative here, and it might not apply to everybody, but this is something that you can utilize this is one way that you can utilize motivation to make sure that you work out. My next piece of advice is basic to any exercise program, and that is to make sure that you plan ahead. So even before you get to where you're going, I want you to have some sort of plan or some sort of idea of a plan for what you're going to be doing over the next few days. You can do that while you're driving, hopefully not while you're in the driver's seat, in the passenger seat. You can do it the night before you leave. Whatever it is, I just want you to make sure that you have some sort of realistic plan written up before you go into this. You can always revise that plan later on, and that's okay. Maybe you get there and you realize that this plan is completely unrealistic. And that's okay though. It's always better to go in with a plan and then revise it than to go in without a plan. Just make sure that you're not completely married to this plan and that you're okay with being flexible with it, because more likely than not, it's going to change. So tip number 3 there is to make sure you plan in advance. My 4th tip is same time, same place. So this is a really straightforward concept that comes from habit formation science. We know that if we repeat an action in the same time and in the same location, that we're more likely to repeat it again in the future. So I want you to choose a specific place wherever you're going, that you're going to exercise every day, and ideally you do it at the same time every day. If you need a suggestion as to when that is, the best time is usually the morning. Now that might not work for everybody, and you might not be able to exercise in the same time or the same place every day. If you can only choose one of those, let's say you can only exercise in the same location, but it fluctuates time-wise day to day, that's okay. And if you can only work out at the same time, but you're not guaranteed that location, or if you want to change it up, that's okay as well. Just know that if you can exercise in the same time, in the same location, or one of those, you are more likely to repeat the habit. Tip number 5 is to make it a group activity. So I started Manful Yoga back in 2013, and after a couple of years, my family started doing yoga too. After a few years of me going home and doing yoga on my own, they started to come into the room when I was doing yoga and ask me, hey, what are we doing? And I would end up leading kind of like a family workout. So that's probably not gonna happen with everybody, but it's kind of cool that we've developed this new holiday tradition, or this tradition when we're together, to exercise together. So my recommendation is to try and make this a group activity as much as possible. And there's a few reasons for this. Number 1, you're telling people what you're doing in advance, and they're not gonna get mad at you if you invite them to come with you, but they decline and then you go off and do it anyways. At least that way you've given them the opportunity to participate. And then if they do join in, then hey, cool, you're making a new family tradition, one that's actually healthy. Isn't it weird how all family traditions are unhealthy? Anyways, random thought. But bottom line here, my recommendation is to make sure that you tell people about it, give them the opportunity to participate, and don't just go off an Irish exit and do your workout and then come back an hour later with everyone wondering where you've been. Not great. My next tip has to do with equipment you should bring. So if you're traveling and you're going somewhere that doesn't have any equipment at all, I do recommend you bring a little bit of equipment. But again, we don't want to bring too much, and we don't want it to be heavy because that just makes it a pain in the ass to travel with. So there are a couple pieces of equipment I would recommend you bring. The first is a resistance band of some sort. So this is something like this. This is actually called a monster resistance band. You can get a resistance band set for like 20 bucks on Amazon. They're very inexpensive and highly useful. The reason for this, there's a lot of reasons why, but this is an easy tool to create resistance, and it helps you do pulling exercises, which is tough to do if you don't have any equipment. You also really need those pulling exercises because if you've been traveling, that usually means that you've had poor posture. You've been sitting for a while, you've been inactive, and pulling exercises are really helpful to restoring posture, to helping make sure that your shoulders feel good throughout the day. So I'd highly recommend bringing some resistance bands. As you can see, these are very light, very easy to transport. The next thing I would recommend you bring is a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball. And this is to make sure that you have something to help with muscle knots. Again, if we're traveling, if you're being inactive, you're going to get some knots. You're going to have some muscle tightness. A tennis ball, a lacrosse ball is fantastic for getting rid of those muscle knots, for helping you to work on your mobility and making sure that you can exercise safely, but also that you can just go through your day without pain. Lastly, this is just for me. I personally like to travel with a yoga mat when I travel, but that's because I'm the yoga guy. If you don't have a yoga mat, you really don't need to bring one. You can get by with a towel. It's great to practice on hardwood floors as long as you're not putting your knees down on them. But if you do need to put your knee down, you can use a carpet, you can fold up a towel, something like that. So you don't need a yoga mat. I like to have one, but you can just use a towel. Don't worry about lugging one if it's inconvenient. My next tip has to do with those of you who strength train, those of you who use weights. And this is to don't feel bad that you aren't lifting weights. Don't feel like you're going to miss out on gains because you don't have your weights for a week or even 2 weeks. Unless you are Dwayne "The Rock" effing Johnson, you are not going to miss out on that much if you're not lifting weights for a week. Most of us could stand to benefit from taking a week off from weights. Gives your muscles time to recover. It allows your body to kind of catch up to the exercises that you've been doing. And it also gives you an opportunity to work on other things. You can work on your mobility. You can do restorative stretching. You can address problem areas. You can do those physical therapy exercises that you know you're supposed to do, but you don't do. You can also do body weight exercises. You can do squats, you can do push-ups. You can use those bands that I told you to bring. So there's a ton of options for you, even if you don't have weights. If you haven't already done ManFlow Yoga, check out the workouts here on this YouTube channel. You can also go to manflowyoga.com/free, where I have over 20 workouts from 5 programs, which you can watch for free there. This is a great opportunity for you to work on imbalances. It's a great opportunity for you to work on things you don't normally work on. But the bottom line here is I don't want you to think that you're missing out on gains significantly if you don't have access to your weights for a week. It's okay. You can start back up when you return. And it also is a good idea to give your body a break and focus on other things. My last tip for you is to don't be embarrassed about working out. This is something that initially I was embarrassed to do. I would kind of slink off, or I would kind of give a mischievous grin if people asked where I was going, and I would say I'm going to work out. I've honestly gotten to the point now where I will just do yoga in front of everybody, and it's not an attention thing. It's just because I'm comfortable enough doing it, and if my body needs it, I'll just do it right then and there. People end up joining me sometimes. Some people make fun of me, other people join in. Whatever the case, I get some nice mobility and strength work in a time where I'd otherwise be sitting. But make sure that you don't feel embarrassed when you tell other people that you're going to work out. Working out is a good thing. It's good for your health. It's good for your mental well-being. It's good for reducing the health cost burden. lots of good reasons for working out. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you haven't already subscribed to YouTube channel, the Manful Yoga YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe. We just got our shiny new 100K subscriber plaque. We actually just hit 150,000 subscribers. Thank you for being here if you're already a subscriber. If you have a question or feedback, or you just want to comment on this video, I invite you to leave a comment. Make sure to click the like button if you found this video useful. And that's most of what I have. Stick around. I'm going to tell you about a free 7-day challenge that you can join right now. All right, if you enjoyed that video, I want to invite you to take my free 7-day challenge. This is a beginner's yoga for men workout series featuring 15-minute workouts and daily emails to help hold you accountable and motivated. This is a great way to learn yoga, to get started, and it's totally free. Sign up at the first link in the description below. When you sign up, I'm also going to give you a free bonus video, a previously members-only workout called Head and Neck Essentials. This is a 25-minute workout that's perfect for relieving tension in your head, neck, and shoulders, useful for pretty much any situation. So go ahead and sign up for that 7-day challenge. Do it right now. Click that link in the description. I'll wait. And if you haven't already subscribed to this YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe. We put out new videos every week. And if you like the video, be sure to like the video, click the like button, and leave a comment if you have any feedback or questions. Thanks again for being here. I'll see you in the next video.